welcome to ABP Live. I have with me today Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, and he's also fondly called as Tiny Dhillon. He's come up with a fantastic book, which is mostly on his life story, but it also touches some of the very sensitive subjects that India's national security apparatus faces, be it Kashmir, be it Pakistan, be it China. You talk about it and he knows it through and through. But let me first show his book, which also has a very interesting name, which is called Kitne Ghazi Aaye, Kitne Ghazi Gaye. This is for our viewers. So, sir, if I can start first asking you, how do you came up, with this wonderful, catchy name of the book? Because, by the very, and also the photograph, I must say, is very quite interesting. But tell us a little history about this title.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you for having me on ABP Live. This book, Kitne Ghazi Aaye, Kitne Ghazi Gaye, is a life story from my 3-year-old childhood. In my childhood, then the training, NDA, IMA, then joining my unit life, marriage, children, the life support which we get from our families, especially the wife and kids. And then, of course, there is a lot about Kashmir. Since I've been posted in Kashmir since September 1988 till I became there in 2019 when Pulwama, Balakot and 370 happened. So this title, Kitne Ghazi Aaye, Kitne Ghazi Gaye, as the viewers are aware, the Pulwama blast happened on 14th of February 2019 when we lost 40 of our brave hearts from CRPF. I had taken over a 15 Corps, that is Chinar Corps, responsible for the patrol, as well as the hinterland in the Kashmir Valley, counter-terrorist operations. On 10th of February, that is just about 4 days before Pulwama happened. So within 100 hours, we eliminated this Jaish-e-Mohammed module, which was headed by a Pakistani terrorist called Kanwal. Code name was Ghazi. And when we eliminated this module within 100 hours, who had carried out the Pulwama ID blast, there was a press conference on the 19th of February morning. And since there was a report in the media that Pulwama ID blast has been carried out by a terrorist whose code name is Ghazi. So media was abuzz for last 4 days that Ghazi has done this blast. So there was a question in the press conference, and this photograph is from the same press conference, which a journalist asked me a question, "Sir, is Ghazi dead?" So I did not want to give much credence to the terrorist, as also during my earlier tenures and previous tenures in Kashmir, a lot of Pakistani terrorists whose code name was Ghazi had been eliminated by us. So my immediate response, without giving much credence to the terrorist, was, Kitne Ghazi Aaye, Kitne Ghazi Gaye, parwah nahi, we are there, don't worry. So this line, Kitne Ghazi Aaye, Kitne Ghazi Gaye, became quite viral, and that is how the title of the book, Kitne Ghazi Aaye, Kitne Ghazi Gaye, don't worry, we are there.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very interesting, sir. And also you have written about it elaborately in your book. Now, let me start first asking you also the fact that how, you joined the 15 Corps, and also there is an interesting story behind that, how it sort of, at that time, our Army Chief General Bipin Rawat had, sort of called you in his office and it was given to you and you were elated because you were looking forward to that. Can you share that little anecdote with our viewers?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, when I got approved for the rank of Lieutenant General, you rank in the order of your seniority as per your right. When your promotion cannot be tinkered with, so I got my rank of Lieutenant General in my own seniority. And then most of us, about 11 of us, were waiting for command of a corps who had been approved in command and staff stream. And my number was, I think, at number 9 or 10. And this is when, in December 2018, I was with General Rawat late evening one day in his office. So he asked me, when are you going to get the command of a corps? I told him, sir, as per the seniority lineup, I should be getting it by about another 9-10 months. But command of a corps is an appointment. So appointment can happen as per the capabilities or as per your suitability for that job. So General Rawat asked me, do you want to go to 15 Corps? I said, yes, sir. And then he said, okay, go to 15 Corps and do a good job of it. That is all my charter or my mandate was given to me by my then Chief General Bipin Rawat, later first CDS of India. So this is how in December 2018, I was selected to go to 15th Corps and took over the command of 15th, as told earlier, on 10th of February 2019.
Mm-hmm. So now, if I can ask you, since as you rightly said, and that's what makes your career so fascinating, is the fact that you saw Pulwama, Balakot, and also the abrogation of Article 370. Now, that in a way, in a sense, changed the landscape. Maybe it did not, but just for starting with Pulwama, do you think that kind of event and eventually whatever happened afterwards, has that changed the landscape of, let's say, cross-border terrorism? Because that's what is the biggest concern that comes out whenever India speaks and talks about the fact that in the multilateral forum or bilaterally, and the very reason that India has stopped speaking with Pakistan is the reason that it says the cross-border terrorism has to stop. Now, we've recently seen a similar kind of incident happened in Poonch, in which we lost 5 of our soldiers. And the fact that these kind of incidents continue to happen in the valley. So do you think Pulwama has really, has it changed anything?
Ma'am, I'll answer your question in two parts.
Sure.
First is Pulwama. After Pulwama, the Indian government's resolve and their will to strike at will was showcased when we carried out the airstrikes in Balakot. As per the technical terminologies, when the Air Force fully armed crosses the international boundary, it's actually a declaration of war. Indian Air Force in Balakot crossed the line of control. It overflew Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It suppressed the Pakistani air defense. It defeated the Pakistani Air Force, and then it crossed the international boundary. As you are aware, Balakot is not in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Balakot is in proper Pakistan. So Indian Air Force struck in proper Pakistan, destroyed the camp, and came back safely without even being noticed or touched by the Pakistani air defense. So that was a lesson, and that was a lesson told to Pakistan that we will hit back if you try out anything like this. Now, second part is the incident of Poonch and other small terror incidents where Pakistan continues to do mischief. That is the desperation of Pakistan after the Balakot airstrikes and after the abrogation of Article 370, when Pakistan as a state failed to get any diplomatic support in their favor, and they are in an economic mess, they are in a political mess, their military is accused of all types of corruption charges. Hence, they have to keep the attention of the public away from the domestic issues. So only thing which unites them together is Kashmir. Hence, these are acts of desperation and which are carried out to make sure Kashmir remains in news. Whereas in Kashmir, the number of terrorists, all the terror indices, the number of terrorists present, the number of terrorists killed, the number of terrorists getting recruited, the number of security forces getting killed, the number of civilians being killed by terrorists, all these indices and new terrorists joining the Tanzims, all these indices are down and they're verifiable facts. You can check them quarter on quarter, month on month, year on year. Other peace indices like number of tourists coming in, the hotel bookings, the airline bookings, the shopkeepers earning, the sumos running, all these are peace indicators which are on the up and again verifiable. Hence, the peace is returning to Kashmir after 5th of August 2019. Pakistan continues to be in a state which it is, and desperation is now showing wherein these incidents of terror are continued to be done by Pakistan.
Mm-hmm. So, but then when we talk about incidents like that, which has happened in Poonch, and as you rightly said that these terrorists keep on joining some of the other tanzims. Now, do you think that what has happened, especially in Pulwama and now in Poonch, these are infiltrators that continue to keep coming? Because if we have done 370 and also, as you said, that we gave them a befitting reply by way of the Balakot attacks, then how do you think that this infiltration is happening? What is it? What kind of operations are they still running? And the fact that probably somewhere there is an intelligence failure from India's part, or maybe a security failure.
since you have traveled in Kashmir and Jammu and Kashmir extensively, covering various aspects, I have served in that region for a number of tenures. The line of control is a very difficult terrain because of the altitudes, because of the visibility. There are primary jungles, secondary jungles, and tertiary jungles. At places, the visibility is not even 2 meters. There are patches of land in that region where sun has not touched the ground in the centuries gone so far. That is the type of terrain we are talking. There are nalas, there are broken terrains. The line of sight is absolutely restricted. So it's a very difficult terrain. The counter-infiltration grid of Indian Army is very strong. Notwithstanding, Pakistan, even using the other international boundaries in, say, Punjab and Rajasthan and Gujarat, it is also using the third country to infiltrate the terrorists. So these terrorists are infiltrating through various means, in spite of a very strong counter-infiltration grid. However, the numbers as compared to previous years is tremendously low. But Pakistan retains the capability to carry out terror acts as a state-sponsored policy. That is the point the world is watching, and all these incidents are showing Pakistan and ISI and Pakistan Army's involvement, direct involvement in creating terror inside India and killing innocents, oblique the security forces personnel in the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
Fair enough, sir. And if I can now ask you that, you have touched upon the topic in your book, how the build-up sort of happened on Article 370, abrogation of Article 370, and the fact that how that can really change the landscape in Jammu and Kashmir. But having said that, since you also said right now that they are doing infiltration through a third country, are you hinting at China? And if so, we've heard many a times from our defense ministry in the last 2 years since the standoff has happened at the LSE, that there could be a gradual drawdown of troops from the valley and they need to be pushed more towards the LSE. Do you think that's a proper strategy?
Ma'am, the question which you referred to, China and the realigning troops towards Chinese border and the infiltration aspect are two unrelated aspects. Notwithstanding that, Pakistan is infiltrating terrorists in smaller numbers probably through third countries which are other than China also and not about China. Now coming to the realignment of troops towards China, security of a nation which has two nuclear neighbors and both of them are not very friendly to it. The only country in the world with two nuclear neighbors who are not your very friendly countries is India. Hence, the security dynamism is always evolving. The security aspects, the strategies are always evolving and analysis is carried out at very regular intervals. So as and when the analysis is carried out, the security situation, whatever it demands, if it demands additional troops, it demands additional resources, additional assets or realignment, that is done and it's a very dynamic and a continuous process. So Indian Defence Forces also carries out the review of our international boundaries, as also our maritime borders, as also our airspace managements. So this is a very dynamic and a regular feature, and this under this only, the realignment of forces, whenever required, is carried out.
So you think that that strategy can really work if it sort of manages well, if we can manage it well, right?
Absolutely, ma'am. Today there is a need to realign forces towards northern borders. It may be done. Tomorrow, if there is a requirement to realign it back towards the western border, it will be done. As I said, it's a dynamic issue. It's a review which is carried out regularly by the security experts. And based on that review and threats which are envisaged in the near future, in the long future, the realignment of the forces, the reassessment of the threats and allocation of the assets and resources is carried out. It's a very, very dynamic process. All armies in the world, all defense forces in the world do it.
Okay. So now if I can ask you, and I'll take you back in 2019 when you were serving there and the 370 happened. Now, I really wanted to get a feel from you, and I'm sure our readers and viewers will also be very interested in the sense that how was the situation, security situation there before it happened, and especially afterwards? Because sitting in Delhi, some of us, we really thought that, and that's what other analysts were also saying, that once you take such a step, managing Kashmir especially will be hugely difficult, and the security situation can go out of control. But what we see now today is the fact that there is a semblance of, I would say, a lot of peace there in a way. I do not know whether that's real peace or not, but one is not really hearing daily the incidents of stone pelting and all. However, at the same time, they're waiting for elections to happen, development to happen. But in the days that run up to the abrogation of Article 370 and afterwards, we saw internet shut down, and there was this tremendous kind of blackout that happened. What is it that you faced, you and your boys, and what was the single biggest concern at that point of time as far as security is concerned when you were there, and how did you manage it?
I was counting the 13 questions in this one question of yours. Anyway, so I'll start from the beginning. When 370 was to be abrogated, and the peace which you talked about, which happened after the abrogation of 370, in spite of some analysts feeling and some politicians saying खून की नदियां बह जाएंगी, तिरंगे को कंधा देने वाला कोई नहीं होगा, and Pakistan making all types of noises and efforts, we were very sure as team security forces that peace will remain. We had worked for it. We had worked very hard for it. I've written few aspects of it in my book, Kitne Ghazi Aaye, Kitne Ghazi Gaye. And as you are aware, when 5th of August 2019 happened, in the next 3 months were the most peaceful 3 months in the history of Kashmir terrorism. Not a single civilian was killed. Not a single civilian or public property was burnt or damaged at the hands of the security forces. All the killings which happened only happened at the hands of the terrorists. So they were the most peaceful 3 months. And 370, 35A were discriminatory. They had to go. I have written in detail in my book. They were not in the public interest. It was a transitional and temporary provisions of constitution. And secondly, a lot of narrative is being built around 370 and 35A as if it's a religion-specific provision or provisions. I must clarify for your viewers, these were administrative provisions in the constitution applicable to all the subjects of the then state of Jammu and Kashmir, irrespective of their religion beliefs. That means a Muslim, a Hindu, a Kashmiri, a Parsi, a Jain, a Buddhist of Jammu and Kashmir was being governed by Article 370 and 35A alike. It had no religious connotations. Having said that, now coming back to the point as to the blackout which you talked about, I can tell you with 100% authority on my behalf that there was no blackout. All newspapers were functional. All the journalists were staying in a hotel and covering. We were having regular interactions and very transparent interaction with the press at all levels. Yes, high-speed internet was restricted for a few more days or few weeks or months. That was because Pakistan would have downloaded or sent videos picking up from Syria or Palestine, showing them to be as if it's happening in Kashmir. And those videos would have created more confusion and resulted in deaths. If restriction on the high-speed internet only could save lives, we were for it. Whereas the low-speed internet, that is 2G and all, landlines were opened up after a few days. The students could upload their application, people could make the bank transaction, people could make the hotel bookings, people could make the railway and airline bookings, the businessmen could upload their tenders. Everything was functional. All the hospitals were open, all the dispensaries were open, all the ATMs were open, all the shops were open. Only in a few number of police station jurisdictions, only CRPC 144 was applied for a few days, where some sensitive installations were there so that they are not damaged. And CRPC 144 says 4 or more people cannot move together. If you're moving in 1s, 2s, and 3s, you could always go and pick up bread, butter, eggs for a child. You could go and do any type of shopping. There was no restriction whatsoever. I have written in a book also. Even the German ambassador of that time has said in an interview, I have quoted and given the print of the newspaper cutting, where he said he saw no lockdown. because all the ambassadors and the high commissioners who visited Kashmir, I personally briefed them. So we were open and we were transparent, including the ambassador of United States of America, who visited and who saw for himself. He interacted with the people himself. So this Pakistani narrative of blackout or lockdown was false and totally false.
Mm-hmm. So, but then on the visit of ambassadors, yes, they were sent in two batches, and mostly all ambassadors were sort of covered. But then there were also reports, and there were also these statements coming out that those two visits happened under a complete sort of lockdown. Entire Srinagar was sort of shut down, and there were fear that there could be a security challenge. But what was the real situation according to you at that point?
Ma'am, exactly the point I made. Lockdown, shutdown, Srinagar shutdown. The ambassadors visited Lal Chowk. Ambassadors interacted with the politicians, with the press, with the teachers, with the sarpanches, panches, the opinion makers, the students, the businessmen, the viewers. They interacted across the society, people. They visited in batches because of administrative reasons or whatever the Ministry of External Affairs had worked it out. Otherwise, there were no restriction. They were made to travel by road. They traveled by road. They saw for themselves the shops open. So this is a Pakistani narrative where they're saying, look, they visited Lal Chowk, and not a single ambassador out of the ambassadors and high commissioners who visited has personally said that there was a lockdown. In fact, there are statements from the ambassadors and high commissioner which says they saw no lockdown.
Okay.
Otherwise, narratives can keep happening. Kashmir is famous for narratives. Pakistan is a past master at building false narratives.
Mm-hmm. But sir, do you think that Pakistan still has a significant influence in the valley, or do you think that has gone after 370 and it's there's a semblance of normalcy there?
I mean, valley, no one talks about Pakistan. It's only people in Pakistan talk about it, and some journalists with agenda and biases, and some opinion makers with agenda and biases talk about them. Pakistan has no relevance, has got no significance in valley. Only relevance it has is it sends in terrorists, it kills innocents. Otherwise, Pakistan has no role to play in the development of Kashmir. Pakistan has no role to play in the education of the students of Kashmir. Pakistan has no role to play in the job creation of Kashmir. Pakistan has no role to play in increase and enhancement of tourism, which in turn will enhance the earnings of the Kashmiri people in Kashmir. Pakistan has no role. It has not played any significant or positive role in Kashmir. Mm-hmm. So people have seen through it. Today in Kashmir, no one talks about Pakistan. Everyone talks about education, jobs, tourism, agriculture, and progress. Mm-hmm. That is what Kashmiris are looking for. They're yearning for it. They had enough of it.
Okay.
And that is how peace is returning to Kashmir.
Mm-hmm. Sir, and also one significant point that you touch in your book is how the kind of role over the years the Jammu and Kashmir police has played, working shoulder to shoulder with the Indian Army. Now, would you like to give us some sort of detailed assessment in the sense that how crucial is their role right now, especially when we are talking about a possible drawdown of troops from the valley?
Ma'am, I have seen Jammu and Kashmir police since 1988 as a young captain. And since the trouble started around that time, Army and Jammu and Kashmir police have been working together hand in hand over the last 35 years or so. I can tell you with 100% conviction, Jammu and Kashmir police is one of the finest counter-terrorist police forces in the world. They're very, very good. They're thorough professionals. They're equipped with state-of-the-art equipment, and they have the go. Together with the Indian Army and CRPF and intelligences and the support of civil administration, the complete team security forces is doing a great job. Now, coming to your point of the drawdown of forces, here I would like to put a question. Ma'am, terrorism has not finished in Kashmir. Terrorism has gone down in Kashmir. Consolidation phase is going on. We need all the forces required to maintain peace. And once the consolidation is complete, and we are reasonably sure that terrorism cannot erupt again, only then we should be thinking of drawdown or anything else. Any premature decision on this or even talk on this can be counterproductive. It should be avoided. When the security situation is assessed and then the final review gives the outcome that, okay, yes, now is the time, that is the time the decision should be taken. Till that time, we should not be even talking about it. And the time is not yet ripe for that.
Okay, point taken. And sir, my last question to you will be, how do you really see this proposal to go for theaterization, right? Now that the challenge from Chinese side is increasing, and that is the single biggest challenge that we are getting to hear that India is facing and will be facing in the coming decades as China becomes more stronger and starts to prove its assertiveness. How much of it do you think in an Indian scenario, as you said, that we are the only country that has both the neighbors' nuclear power? So, do you think this is an idea which needs to be implemented as soon as it can be done?
Any nation, the nations go to war. The militaries only fight on the borders. So, when the nations go to war, is the comprehensive national power of that nation which is applied, which includes the military might, the diplomatic might, the economic might, and all other assets and resources and influences which you may have. If that is so, then why should we not employ all our defense forces in a very cohesive, coordinated manner to get the best out of their individual and combined assets? So theaterization is the way to go. Given our long borders, the long theaters or the large theaters, it is a need of the hour. A lot of work has been done. A lot of work is already going in. Nobody in India has said that theaterization is not the need of the hour. Yes, there are certain issues which needs to be resolved. They are getting resolved by the people who are responsible for it. And the time for theaterization was yesterday. We are already late. We need to look at it comprehensively, and we need to look at it without any individual interests or passions. It's in the national interest. We need to go for theaterization. And I think the whole of nation approach is moving in that direction, and theaterization will happen. Some small little issues are being resolved so that tomorrow we don't have major issues.
Well, sir, thank you very much for giving us your thoughts and talking to us in such great details. For our viewers, again, let me show the book. If you are really keen and interested, and this is a fascinating book that will give you such a great idea about India's national security. Sir, thank you for talking to ABP Live. You please take care.
Thank you, ma'am, and good day and regards, and Jai Hind.